You are Locked On Eagles Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Philadelphia, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the Eagles Locked On Postcast. Eagles win!
Well, it's not over yet, Jason. They still got a couple of seconds left, but they just escorted Jordan Love, the Packers quarterback, off the field. Looked like he had his ankle rolled up on what almost was a turnover. This has been a crazy football game. I mean, outside of that first quarter where the Eagles just looked like they weren't even ready to play, and turnovers and penalties, and the Eagles were very fortunate to only give up 2 field goals in that first quarter, because Green Bay could have put 14 on them real early, and it would have been maybe a big different result here. But after that, this game got nuts. I mean, it's had everything.
That's Harry Mayes right there, at Harry Mayes TU. I'm Jason Myrtetus, at Jason Myrt on Twitter. This is the Locked On Eagles Postcast, and this is our first one. We're going to do this after every game, and we're going to react to the game. And look, I got news for everybody. We're going to react probably emotionally at times. We're happy with the result tonight, for sure. But here's the deal. You can check out all of the postcasts on the Locked On Philadelphia YouTube channel. I tweeted it out. I know you retweeted it as well. Yeah. People can get it there. Good news is, too, Harry, people can comment there, and we can react to some comments as well. Let's go to the phones.
Yeah, right. There are no phones, Tone.
That's right.
Well, we do have a little message board up here, and this content will be available all week long. It'll be up there forever. You can go back and watch it if you didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing. That's why we love this stuff on YouTube. So real excited to be here, man.
Yeah, it'll also become available in its audio version on all the podcasting apps. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, all those different ones. Tune in wherever you get your on-demand audio.
Wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So let me tell everybody that this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL, and you'll win $50 instantly when you play just $5.
Yeah.
All right, Harry, we got to discuss.
It is a final.
It is a final. The Eagles win the opener.
34-29.
So first game in the southern hemisphere of our globe.
Oh, yeah.
In Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Not Sao Paulo, Brazil.
No, that would be different. But the Eagles go south of the equator, where they're entering their spring right now. And they fight off, and Packers tried to fight it off too. Turf problems all over the place. Footing was an issue, especially early on. They seemed to get the cleats and the right spikes in the cleats eventually. But the Eagles just eventually wore them down, I think. And, that 67-yard touchdown to start the second half by A.J. Brown was a big catch. I didn't love Jalen Hurts' game, Harry.
No, I didn't either. But
in that fourth quarter, he made some big plays.
Yeah, he did. He made a couple of nice completions to DeVonte Smiths for first downs that helped run down the clock. But he's just got to stop turning the ball over. I mean,
loose.
I know it's in the first quarter, but you throw it late down the middle of the field, you're just begging for an interception. Like I said, they were lucky. Their defense held up. Green Bay committed a penalty of offensive pass interference on after one of the drives in the end zone, which helped them hold them to a field goal. But they held them to field goals, and they stayed within the game. Then they started to sort of gather their footing, and Hurts made some big plays. But then the turnover and thrown across his body into the end zone.
Yeah,
I mean
uncharacteristic. Can't do that.
I mean, you just can't do that. And then the fumbling. Now, with this, it's interesting because Cam Jurgens is the center now, obviously. We all know Jason Kelce is retired. He's doing commercials for YouTube. He's everywhere except on the football field for the Eagles. And there are a couple instances tonight where you're thinking, man, if Jason Kelce was in there, would they have fumbled that snap, or would he have snapped it, early, and Hurts didn't see it coming, and so they missed their first tush push of the game too. They got stuffed on it
on third down. Then they got it on fourth.
Well, no, it was a penalty on Green Bay.
Oh yeah, that he jumped it because of the hard count.
He threw him offside. So, but you're just sitting here saying, man, this first game without Kelce, there's a couple moments here where we should have had him.
But, there's going to be growing pains. And he's the spiritual leader of that team since 2014, and there's going to be growing pains. But, Harry, can we go as far as to say that Saquon Barkley has ingratiated himself quite well to the Philadelphia Eagles? 24 rushes, 109 yards, 2 touchdown runs, a touchdown catch as well, which was a tremendous catch on a great route that he ran. Just got in behind the Packer defender. But boy, what a performance by Barkley. I thought he was just awesome in the game after what was a slow start for him also.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And he appeared to get stronger as the game went on. I mean,
yeah, I like that.
Quarter, there were a couple of runs there where you're just like, it looked like they were going to take Green Bay's will, and you're thinking, all right, they're going to salt this game away. And, they get it down inside, inside the 2 or 3 yard line. They try the tush push. And fumble the exchange. And then you're like, my God, they should have just handed it to Saquon. He probably would have got his 4th touchdown, and the game would have been over. I mean,
from the 1 yard line. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, but man, there were just big plays on both sides. I mean, Green Bay had a bunch of big plays in that first half. This Jaden Reed kid, man, I tell you, the Eagles cannot cover him. Yeah. He scores on a big on a jet sweep, jet motion with handoff, and ran at 33 yards, I think, in for a touchdown untouched. And then he's making big plays. He's wide open, in the secondary on blown coverages. And man, he's a weapon. They beat a good football team tonight. It was sloppy, and it's always sloppy the first couple of weeks of the season with these starters not playing in the preseason games. They don't hit a lot in practice. The first 3 or 4 weeks in September are essentially preseason type games that count. And, they outscored them. Somebody asked me early on in the summer, what do you think the Eagles are going to look like? You get this all the time, too.
Yep.
And I said, well, I think they're going to score a lot of points, but I also think their defense could give up a lot of points.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot. I think we're going to see a lot of games like what we did tonight. Hopefully not the turnovers, but high scoring, where they're just going to, score in the 30s and 40s and outscore teams.
Yeah, I mean, Reed's only run of the ball was that 33-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
And he looked dynamic, and he was dynamic when he touched the ball receiving. He also had 4 catches for 138.
Right. He's a big play machine.
Yeah, I mean, they have some big play offensive players for the Green Bay Packers.
They do.
And watching the game, at points I thought the Eagles' defense looked really stout, got a lot of pressure and was pressuring up the middle without having to blitz.
Yeah.
I thought that, Quinyon played really well until that one play in the fourth quarter where he kind of let the guy get behind him.
Yeah, he got caught looking in the backfield.
But I thought he was good in the game. He made some good breakups.
He was. He looks like a guy who wants to find the ball, and
he's got swagger to him.
He plays physical. He's a physical corner, so I like that out of the first round pick. Yeah, he was one of the guys that I thought really had a good night. This Zack Baun guy was all over the place.
All over.
Too. You know? I mean, there was a couple guys where I was like, were they on the field? There's Huff that they got in here from the Jets. I didn't see him doing too much. I didn't see Sweat making him a heck of a lot of plays. But there were a couple guys in there that were, making plays on that defense. I'd like to see him get a little bit more pressure with that front four, though, man.
With more consistency, or they're going to play games like this where they're going to have to outscore teams.
Right.
And look, I didn't know what to expect going, because you can tell nothing from the preseason in the NFL.
Well, they don't even play.
Yeah, I mean, they mentioned it in the broadcast. Josh Jacobs was in for 3 plays in the preseason for the Packers, and he got off to a really sluggish start. You started to see him, and he's a workhorse back. I mean, Derrick Henry's the only guy that ran the ball more than him last year, and he's a guy that started to get it a little bit of a rhythm and looked like they were wearing the Eagles down. But you got to give the Eagles full credit because, I mean, we're going to talk about the coordinators because you got 2 new ones. And Nick Sirianni's kind of more of a manager now, the
kind
GM.
Of a CEO now. He's like a CEO coach.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be my CEO, Harry. No. But I thought Vic Fangio called it kind of a chalk game, but they gave up too many points. So when I look at what the defense did, it's concerning. They started the last 2 years 10-1, and we know 2 years ago 10-1 looked a lot different than 10-1 last year, and obviously it ended up a lot different as well. But I don't know what we can draw from this game other than Saquon Barkley was as advertised, and I thought DeVonte Smith, even though his game was under the radar, I thought he was really good in the game.
He just makes
slippery
every catch. He makes he gets open. And, Hurts can just fire the ball, in a tight window to him where you need a first down, and he's going to make the catch. And, it's just these 7, 8, 9-yard plays that he makes on little slants and stuff where, you just throw the ball to a spot and he's there and he's got such good hands. And he might go down right there, but you get the first down, you move the chains. He's so good at that. And that's what they were doing late in the game, too. I mean, it looked like A.J. Brown took a pop from one of those defensive backs late in that game. And I didn't see
down the left sideline.
Yeah. So DeVonte was key in that final minute or two, just to keep the clock moving, get Green Bay to use all their timeouts. And, eventually they win it. So they survived Sao Paulo is the way I look at this. A win's a win. And, there's a lot for the coaches to chew on as far as things to get in their grill, and they love that. But you got to win, and you got to win over a good football team. I think Green Bay's going to be in this for the long haul. They got some weapons. They got a pretty good defense.
Good coaching.
And I think they got a good coach, too. Yeah. So that's going to be a crazy division, too. Just like the NFC East. That NFC North is going to be wild.
Yeah. Well, it's a good start. And we'll look inside Hurts' numbers and kind of grade him out on this game. Because there's a lot there that I liked, and there was a lot there that I didn't like. I had a lot of, conflicting notes on Jalen Hurts. Right. But let's take our first time out. We'll talk about that when we come back. And let me tell everybody about LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs. Now, LinkedIn Jobs is a great place for small businesses to find quality professionals for the right role, for the right person. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And LinkedIn isn't just a job board. Maybe that's how you thought of it in the beginning, but LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those that aren't actively searching for a new job. So I always said that the best way to find a job is find a job you want, but don't apply for it when they're hiring. Apply for it when they're not, when not everybody's flooding the inbox of the boss or the decision maker. You can find the perfect role in a given month. Over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get qualified candidates within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing many hats and not have the time or the resources to hire. So LinkedIn constantly finding ways to make that process easier for small businesses. And they even just launched a new feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process easier and quicker for those small businesses. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring, so you got to be heading there as well. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. We also got to tell.
You want to look at Jalen Hurts now, kind of in
let me tell people
the quarterback.
They got to make Locked On Network, Locked On Eagles rather, their first listen every day. We do the postcast. The boys have the Locked On Eagles daily podcast every day. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. All right, let's look at Jalen Hurts. You always got to focus on the QB, right, Har?
Yeah, absolutely. The head coach and the QB, they get all the criticism when things go bad, and some of the praise when things go well. But Hurts, 20 of 34 tonight, 278 yards. He had the 2 TDs. The big one you mentioned, A.J. Brown, starting off the third quarter, 67 yards, I believe it was. But then he had the 2 interceptions, the one early in the game, which led to 3 points for Green Bay, and then the one later in the game, which I thought was horrendous. I mean, he's been in this league long enough to know to not make that play. If you're going to throw that in the end zone, throw it out of the end zone. Get your kicker out there, and it could have given you. I forget what the score was.
I think it would have been 5 at that point.
It would have been 5. Yes, exactly. So that would have been made Green Bay have to score a touchdown. I mean, you just can't turn the ball over there.
Why throw it to the middle of the field in triple coverage across your body?
I know. Well, I mean, that's one of the cardinal sins. I mean, that's one of the first things in high school. The coaches are screaming at you about that. And then he mishandled a couple of snaps, and the one snap was on Juergens. He snapped it too early. Hurts obviously wasn't ready for it, but he's got to clean that up, man. I'll tell you. He makes the thing I love about him when he does stuff like that is he's got like that goldfish mind. He just forgets it, and he just goes out and makes another play. That's what I do like about him. He made some big plays late in that fourth quarter with
the run, Harry.
with his legs.
Yeah.
Where Green Bay had him pretty bottled up for the entire game until the fourth quarter. And he broke a tackle, and he just lowered his shoulder pads, went right into a defender, and
two
got a
would-be
first
tacklers.
down.
And pushed them to the first down. And
Yeah.
Every broadcast you watch of the Eagles, they talk about his leg strength ad nauseum. But it is not because they're wrong.
No, how about the video of both of them doing squats, him and Saquon?
Yeah,
with a
it's absurd.
squat contest.
Yeah. I mean, those two are both just lower body strength freaks.
Oh, yeah. Freaks is right.
I thought that first down run, that was my play of the game.
Yeah?
I mean, the 67-yard touchdown to A.J. Brown was spectacular to do it. You know, you get the ball back in the second half. You kind of dodge some bullets in the first half where you look, Green Bay doesn't take care of and punish them for the interception and the plays early on. They only go up 6, and then the Eagles eventually take the lead. But to come out in the second half and so quickly have a 67-yard strike to the end zone for A.J. Brown, who just frankly outran the coverage.
Yeah.
I was impressed with his straight line speed, if you will.
Yeah, and the move he made right
big.
at the line of scrimmage where he kind of
he shucked him.
He kind of like bolted to the right, and then boom.
Yep.
And he's just so physical, man. I love watching. I mean, he reminds me a little bit of T.O. I've said that a couple of years ago. And T.O. is a special cat, but this guy's pretty darn good, man. I love watching him play.
And he's a massive competitor. Yeah, he's a little bananas. All great receivers are a little banana. Yeah, they're supposed to.
I'm okay with that. I'm a little bananas.
Yeah, it's not like DeVonte Smith kind of, isn't like one of those guys like that. He's more of like a chill, kind of almost quiet receiver.
Yes.
But he's lethal.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But I thought the run that Hurts had where he took on the two tacklers and got the first down and stayed in bounds and kept the clock moving, I thought was one of the biggest plays of the game because I think that at that point it really took the soul of the Packers. And then they had the guts too, Harry, on that drive to throw the ball. Right. We're wondering, new offensive coordinator in town. Right. Sirianni not calling plays, no more Steichen, no more, all this, right? And boom, they throw the ball when everybody thought they were going to run the ball. It was a gutsy move and a gutsy call.
Yeah, the two plays to DeVonte Smith, one for 16 yards for a first down. It was like a crossing route. And then he had one for couple of plays later for 11 yards for another first down on a slant that gave him the 1st and goal at the Green Bay 6-yard line. And you're thinking, here we go. I mean, they're going to score a touchdown. This game's over. And then, of course, they fumbled the snap on the tush push. And you're like, Saquon jumps on it, thank goodness.
Thank God,
so they
right?
can kick the field goal. But my goodness.
Yeah.
Can these games just end?
Yeah, it was one of those ones that I never felt like truly comfortable with because they were just giving up too much.
I know. And Green Bay's got big playability. I mean, like you mentioned, Jacobs started rumbling a couple of big runs in the fourth quarter, and they got that other back, Wilson, is a pretty nice back for them. Made a couple of big runs in the game. So
4 carries, 46 yards, Harry.
Exactly, and then they can get down the field with those receivers. They had no answer for Jaden Reed, and then Christian Watson is a nice receiver. He made a nice play on the touchdown. It was a short pass, but he just took Avonte Maddox, and it was like a basketball play. He looked like a power forward, just sort of screening and posting up a smaller player. There's nothing Maddox could do, and it was just a simple pitch and catch for a touchdown. But man, that's why I say, this is a win over. This is going to look like a really good win in November, December.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Do you see the final numbers on Zack Baun?
On the defensive numbers, let me see here.
11 solo tackles.
11
Harry.
Solo tackles.
4 assists, 2 sacks.
Yeah.
I mean, what a game.
He was the only Eagle that had a sack. He had that one where he blitzed off the edge, and Love never saw him, and he gave him a big pop.
Yeah.
That was his first sack, and then he got 2. Yeah, how about that?
What a performance from Baun. He just was one of those, you see those old – you remember the old linebackers yesteryear, and kept hearing the name Zach Thomas, and I'm thinking of Zach Thomas from the Miami Dolphins for all those years. One of those linebackers always on the play, right?
Right.
That was Baun in the game.
Yeah, he's kind of like one of those guys back in the day who wear the neck roll.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a neck roll guy.
Like a Matt Millen neck roll.
Yeah.
Didn't he wear it?
How about Blankenship made a couple of plays, made an interception?
Yeah, thought he was
Baun
good.
was involved in that too, because he sort of got in the way of the receiver running back to defend it, where he had to throw it a little bit offline, and Blankenship snuck right in there and got the interception.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with our final segment. We'll get to some YouTube comments. We'll also give our offensive and defensive players of the game. And I got news for people. My defensive player of the game, we just talked about him.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to talk about him again. So we'll take a quick timeout. We'll be right back. And Harry, I'll tell you about this.
Yeah, I got to tell you about Prize Picks. You know, Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's unlike any other app. On Prize Picks, it's just about you and the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings as they roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and very secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes, Jason. How about that? Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's the code. Locked on NFL, all one word, on Prize Picks to get $50 right away when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus because it's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game.
All right, Harry, final segment. Let's go to you first on your offensive play. I think we're going to be redundant here because they seem pretty obvious.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, we could obviously go chalk, go Saquon offense and Baun defense.
Yeah.
But could you make the case for anybody else offensively?
I can make the case for A.J. Brown. I mean, 5 for 119 with the big play, the 67-yard TD. DeVonte Smith. I know he didn't score a touchdown, but 7 catches on 8 targets for 84 yards. Yeah. And I mentioned a couple of key ones late in the game that allowed them to move the chains and salt the clock away and get Green Bay to use timeouts was very valuable too. Barkley, I'd say we got to give it to Barkley. He could have had 4 touchdowns tonight if they would have just handed him the stinking ball at the 1-yard line.
Yeah, I mean, there was no way they were going to stop him at that point from
that
that
spot. I don't think so.
I think they get a little too enamored at times with this tush push.
I know.
Like, it's predictable. Yeah, it works, but you don't have to use it in every one, third and short 1-yard situation or fourth. You can hand the ball to a guy that squats 550 pounds behind that line too, with a little momentum.
I think Saquon gets over 600.
Does he really?
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I think he was doing 500 in at Penn State. He was over 500 when he was at Penn State.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, we got a comment here from Colin. He said the last time Saquon played behind a good offensive line was 2017 at Penn State. He had garbage in New York with the Giants. He looked like he did back then. He didn't look like he suffered any kind of attrition of burst or anything like that. Again, slow start. I don't think he had the right cleats on in the beginning. His first plays that -5 yards, he just totally lost his footing.
Yeah.
But the burst when he gets through the line and reads that offensive line.
Well, and the jump cut, his jump cut move is just, it's terrific. I don't understand this whole cleat nonsense where they got all this equipment and all these equipment guys, right? They're down there a couple of days in advance. You test, and then the night of the game and everybody's slipping all over the place.
Like they need to bring in a Zamboni after the quarter to. Right, it was like as an ice rink all of a sudden.
All of a sudden, they're looking like Scotty Hartnell, falling all over the place.
Yeah, slipping all over the place. It was crazy because you saw it on both sides of the ball. You saw some. Yeah. Look, I don't know that they had any practices or run-throughs at that time of day down there.
Yeah.
And maybe, look, the weather can change too. Maybe humidity plays a factor in the wheel.
I think the field gets a little wet when it gets dark.
Yeah, sure.
It gets moisture.
Dew points, Harry.
Dark. But, usually these games, by and large, that are played on soccer pitches, now granted, most of them have been in Europe, are low-scoring games. This was crazy to have this many points, in one of these, games played in another country, because typically they're low-scoring. So this game went over the total like midway through the third quarter.
Oh, yeah, easily.
It was 49.5, and I think they had 50 points after the second touchdown in the third quarter.
Yeah. The offense was prolific in this game on both sides of the ball. And so let's look. I mean, Baun was obviously the defensive player of the game. Did any other guys in particular pop for you defensively? Brandon Graham is starting his 558th season with the Eagles.
Yeah, and he made a couple of plays in there last night or tonight. But Nakobe Dean, he makes some plays, and then you're like, oh my God, what's he doing? Like, he had a pick six in his hands right along the sideline and dropped it, dropped it. Okay, I know he's not a wide receiver, but that needed to be caught. I'm sorry.
Well, then that one like screen into the flat on the left side too. He read it beautifully and just destroyed the guy, blew it up.
He did, and then there was one just with a tight end where he on a drag route or something. He got totally like confused and gave up like I forget what the gain was, but it was a big gain to the tight end on it. Just so you're like, man, he makes some plays and then he gets burned on some plays, and I guess that's we got to sort of chalk that up to still a younger player, sort of now being thrust up there to be in the starting lineup because, they obviously didn't have Devin White, who stayed back in Philadelphia with this injury. So he got thrust in there. So, he made some things happen, but also gave up some things.
They did appear to get out of the game without any injury. I'm not sure what the C.J. Gardner-Johnson injury was with his hand. Know. Did he dislocate a finger maybe?
I don't know if somebody stepped on his hand, or what it was, but he looked to be favoring, that one hand, and then
I think he got animated because somebody was thought he was, just BSing that he was injured.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I think that's what he was.
I think he was hurt. I think he did get hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know how severe, and hopefully A.J. Brown, that was just sort of a, I think he'll be able to survive that little pop he took. But yeah. You just hope that they survive this whole thing. I mean, I don't know what to believe anymore on the internet, but when you were hearing these stories about how they needed to stay in the hotel room and not go out into the town, and you had Slay saying he didn't want his family coming, and you're like, what are they doing down there if it's so damn dangerous? You know, like just get home and be, everybody lands safely in 9 or 10 hours in Philadelphia at the airport.
I will say it was kind of enjoyable not having 9,000 different beat writers play-by-playing my Twitter timeline.
I don't look at Twitter during these games.
I do very little.
Yeah.
But it was nice just not being clogged up with everybody tweeting the same exact thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't need it just pick one guy to tweet this stuff for your pool reporter for the game. It was nice not having that. I saw some people were sending texts to their significant other back here, and they were tweeting for them. I don't care enough.
Well, yeah, I mean, what do you do there? Is it sort of like credit card roulette at the end of the night to see who pays dinner? You do it to see who gets to do the tweeting? Like, is it Elliott Shore Parks' turn tonight?
See, I think that some people he is not tweeting for me.
I think he posted a thing on Threads. For some reason, I ended up on Threads through Instagram, and he had one of those early night, panoramic videos of the stadium from the press box. How they do that automatically. So I guess they were able to do stuff on Threads. It's just that the X platform is not allowed anymore. They've already banned it in the country. How about that?
Okay. Yeah. Well, look, everybody survived it. Now the Eagles can get back home. They'll be back at it coming up.
Little extra rest, right?
Yep. Next game is going to be a Monday night affair. That's coming up a week from this Monday night.
Against the Falcons.
Yep. Yeah. They get the Atlanta Falcons. That will be a home game for the Eagles. This counted as a home game. But fact of the matter is this, it's a win. They got to win over a quality win over a good football team. We'll take that any day of the week. Your last word to you, Harry.
Well, I know, it was sloppy. There's a lot of penalties. That so many penalties that the official lost his voice somewhere in the second half. I mean,
he may have a torn rotator cuff from throwing the
flag and doing all the gyrations for the penalty calls. Yeah, you're right. So it's always sloppy. I kind of, just chalk that up to the way that they they run the preseason and the camps these days. But you survived it. You got to win, and I think this win is going to look a heck of a lot better come November, December, because I think Green Bay is going to be heavily in the playoff mix, and you're going to get a good win on an NFC team. So.
Good point. It's an NFC opponent as well. They'll get more refined as we go. The new Locked On NFL is here. Locked On NFL is now 2 shows every day. First, the madman Tyler Rowland kicks off your morning with a double shot of NFL Espresso, and then stop by the barbershop with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk, and add in Locked On local experts, and you get unprecedented NFL insight, hot opinions, detailed breakdowns, all in 30 minutes. It's the new Locked On NFL, and it's twice a day. Make the madman Tyler Rowland and the barber Tony Wiggins your second listen at the new Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.